I was always kind of connected, and I always wanted to be more of an outdoorsy guy than a cubicle guy. Having some space and being in the mountains is what I always dreamed of doing, and so that's what I'm doing. That's what I work for, is to be able to do what I'm doing now. See, like that one? No, don't throw them unless they're really solid. When work has to get done, that's what I'll do. If something has to get done, then I'll do it. And so I think that's the most important thing. It's not procrastinating about, well, should we do this or should we do that? I think it's like, let's get it done. My name is Jess Graber. I left Netherlands in 1974 because I had a job in Aspen for the summer. Aspen was a small town back then, and I really liked being in a small town. It was just really a great environment. For me, it's idealistic. It's what, as a kid growing up and thinking what Colorado was like, it's like that. And I get to live in the middle of it. You worked as much as you had to eat, and then the rest of the time you spent skiing, and then you ended up falling in love with the summers because there were so many things to do, and fishing and hiking and exploring the mountains, and so it was cowboys and hippies, and everybody pretty much coexisted together. I got my experience in moonshine when I moved to Colorado. I ran into Larry the Missouri River Rat, and he said he's going back to Missouri. And I got the still, and if I go back, I'll just get in trouble. So I want to give it to you because you're from Missouri. I know what a still does, but I've never done it. He goes, it's easy. We'll boil up some corn, and then we'll put it in the still, and we'll cook that off, and everybody will be your friend after that. We did that, and we cooked it off, and nobody died, so it was my first successful distillation. For a bunch of hippies, they were more used to smoking pot than drinking liquor, and especially moonshine. It was like, wow, this is different, So I don't know if I believe in fate, but from Missouri, we usually say, well, you just stepped in it, and it stuck to you. I was invited to join the Aspen Volunteer Fire Department back in 1986. One fateful day, as they say. April 2nd, 1998, George Stranahan's barn catches on fire. We put the fire out, we put the barn out, saved the foundation. Talking with him after the fire, and I said, George, you just started Flying Dog Brewery. And I said, I'm kind of in the booze business too, but it's a little different. And he goes, oh, that's cool. And I said, well, but I can only do it in the summer, and you've got this other barn. Would you mind if I cook some up during the wintertime? He goes, no, be my guest. I went up there and cooked off a batch in the winter, and later on that summer, I walked in the barn to check it, thinking about getting ready to do another one, and immediately that's when the cartoon light bulb went off. So I went to George and I said, George, would you make me a whiskey mash? And he goes, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Well, no, I said, you know what, George? We'll name that whiskey Stranahan's because it's a lot better name than Graber. And George says, you know what? I think that's a pretty good idea. So that's how the name Stranahan's was born. For practical reasons, it all makes sense now, but nobody done it. Nobody used a craft brewer to make a whiskey mash before. There's no such thing as a day off. It's just some days are a little easier than others. First part of the day is I have to go out and feed horses, and then it's time to go down and meet the boys for the breakfast club. Oh. The breakfast club is at the Woody Creek Tavern, which is just a mile and a half down the road. The tavern started to become very popular. It became like a destination, especially for people from Aspen. It was a good way for them to spend the day. So we figured out if we got there first, then we'd always could have a place. It's a social gathering.
When Jane was teaching, she still taught at the Yellow Brick School.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I went to school.
Yeah. Did you make it through third grade?
Yeah, I did.
How many years did it take?
It took 2.
Back in the Midwest in central Kansas, the farmers would retire, but they'd meet downtown and just sit out there and talk about the world and watch the world go by up and down Main Street. And that's kind of what we do. We're watching the world go by out the window of the tavern, just talking basically a lot of bull.
My friend. And after this, we got to stop for a while. After this, I'm flying out. We do? Yeah, we do. After 20 years, to come back to the valley, let alone Aspen, I mean, shoot, they don't allow people like me in Aspen very much unless I wear a disguise. And then to have a tasting room and legitimize what we were doing 20 years ago and have it done so tastefully and so put together and so fancy, it got it full circle, validates everything that I was trying to do way back. It's like, yeah, I just wanted to make it something really good, really special. It's Colorado, and this place, this room is really special. It's fun to be here. Maybe just spill a drop of whiskey for good luck. Here we go. Now the bar's been christened. I like the name Whiskey Lodge because I thought that was a weird name for a tasting room, but it feels like an old lodge in Aspen in the old days, and it feels like Colorado, and it feels like my own vision of Colorado, and there's ambience of historically good things that people valued. It's got the wood and it's got memorabilia, and that's kind of what whiskey's about, is whiskey's a long game. I think that's what they tried to emulate, and I think they did a hell of a good job. I'm proud of what I accomplished to get this lead balloon off the ground. And I'm proud not even more for me, but for everybody else that has contributed to its continued success. I don't know what the future of Stranahan's is because it's so hard to predict that, but I believe it's going to continue to grow as more people find out about it and know it. Even though we're the largest single malt in the U.S. right now, I think the more people find out about how good it is, the quality is, the way the water is, I think it's just going to continue to grow and grow. It'll be, it's already bigger than I could ever imagined. Well, outside of whiskey, because man can't live on whiskey alone, although I've tried it. I'm pretty good at it. A lot of other hobbies that keep me busy. One of the cool things is having the river a few hundred yards from the house. The mountains are incredible. They're majestic, and you've got a resident bald eagle that hangs out and fishes up on the river. It's very tranquil. Then I love to play music. Music is mentally challenging for me. I'm fortunate to play in a really fun band. Our band is called Highway 82, and it's because everybody lives along the Highway 82 corridor. The band members are very diverse and all have very different backgrounds, but the thing that all brought us together is music.
Another lesson about an naive fool came to Babylon. Found out that the pie don't taste sweet. Yeah, my guitar's in
The band has taught me that, like most everything else, if you work really hard at it, you can get better. I usually have my fingers on my bass about every day. That's why it's here in my office.
hillbilly music. It's the only thing keeps me hanging on.
It's very difficult to figure out how this whole thing took off. From having fun to creating something that was new and good, to have it grow beyond my wildest dreams, is difficult to figure out exactly how did this all happen. I'm glad I got to go along for the ride.